Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about the HyTrEc project, Hydrogen Transport Economy in the North Sea region. My name is Rachel Sharp, as has been said. I'm the project manager for HyTrEc, and I work for Aberdeen City Council in the northeast of Scotland. HyTrEc is an inter-regional project, part funded by the European Union from the North Sea programme. The aim of the project is to improve access to and advance the adoption of hydrogen as an alternative energy vector across the North Sea region. The map here shows where the project's 8 partners are located in the UK, Belgium, Germany, Denmark, Sweden and Norway. Aberdeen City Council, who I work for, is the lead partner on the project, and we're responsible for the overall project management and communications. Gateshead College is based in the northeast of England, and they're responsible for leading the work package around the skills development programme. Waterstoffnet, working in Belgium and the Netherlands, is responsible for leading the policy development work stream. There's also a work package looking at evaluating and building in sustainability to hydrogen technologies, and that is led by a partner called IFI, the European Institute for Innovation, and they're based in Germany. Other partners in the project include 2 Swedish organisations. There's Hydrogen Sweden and the SP Technical Research Institute. We have Green Network, an organisation from Denmark, and Narvik University College in the north of Norway. So just to help put everything in a current context, here are a few recent headlines that have some relevance to the HyTrEc project. We occasionally see how global events can have implications in Europe. Energy in particular is influenced by events around the world. Also, as far as I can recall, there was a first in recent times, at least in the UK last week, when we were getting warnings of very high air pollution levels. And this was part due to dust blowing from the Sahara, but also part due to our and our neighbours' emissions. The European Commission actually launched legal proceedings against the UK in February this year for failing to reduce air pollution. And I was lucky enough to have a trip to Japan recently, and I hope that we don't start to see in Europe what is so common. Well, what I saw was common there. People wear masks because of air pollution. So energy prices, household bills, emissions, climate change, types of energy supply, renewables. There seems to be rarely a day goes by when some of these things are not in the headlines. Also, of course, last week, the latest reports from the IPCC were in the news, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, with remaining doubt about the human influences on climate change becoming smaller and less viable. So all these news stories and current affairs are reflected in the European Commission's policy framework on climate and energy goals. They have the energy goals for a competitive, secure and low-carbon EU economy. And the Commission notes major challenges around import dependency, high energy prices and decarbonisation. The Commission also tells us that transport is responsible for around a quarter of Europe's greenhouse gas emissions, making it the second biggest greenhouse gas emissions emitting sector after energy. And road transport alone contributes 1/5 of the EU's total emissions on carbon dioxide, which is the main greenhouse gas. Transport is the only sector actually in the EU where greenhouse gases are still rising. And the relevance of this to the HyTrEc project and to us here today, well, I think that the Hydrogen and Fuel Cells Conference is probably not the place for me to go into depth in, or probably to be able to go into depth on the technical issues of hydrogen and the pros and cons of it, and but I would be able to summarize it as the reason we're interested in it is because it's an energy carrier with or near zero carbon emissions, carbon footprint depending on the production method. There are also a range of production methods. It can be produced from electricity from wind, solar, biogas, and also from byproducts from other industries. There's also a long history of safe use of hydrogen, with it having been used for many, many years in industries like food, metal, glass, and chemical industries, which I think is something that the general public are not always aware of. They tend to see it, I think, as a new thing, or sometimes even a dangerous thing, and don't recognise that it's been in use for a long time, and we're quite used to using it. It can also act as an energy buffer, helping to deal with the intermittency issues that we can see happen through renewable energy generation, and helping to balance electrical grids, and offer some help in energy storage. So this diagram shows the overall concept that the HyTrEc partners see in that how hydrogen can fit into the energy system. Power that's generated from renewables. We know that supply and demand for electricity doesn't always match up, and there are challenges around trying to store electricity, excess electricity. So adding an electrolyzer, so that whenever the electricity isn't required or there's more being produced than is needed, the electricity is used to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. We can store the hydrogen and use it in a variety of applications: fuel cell cars, buses, stationary applications, generators and things, backup power, heat, and other aspects of industry. It can also be injected into the gas grid, known as power to gas, and helping to reduce the carbon footprint of our gas supply. So I'll now give a short overview on what each partner in the HyTrEc project is doing, and what's happening in their regions. Aberdeen is the energy city, and it's keen to be at the forefront of emerging energy technologies to complement and expand on our existing expertise in conventional energy, mainly oil and gas. The city is leading an integrated hydrogen transport project, which will see the deployment of the world's largest fleet of hydrogen fuel cell buses. There'll be 10 buses coming. We're also developing a hydrogen refueling station in the city centre, and we're working on our second refueling station as well. Through HyTrEc, we're converting 2 of the council's diesel fleet vans to run on hydrogen, and we're also helping to coordinate a strategy working with the other cities in Scotland, the 7 cities in total, looking at how the cities can work together to help to support hydrogen technologies being rolled out, and through, for example, having greater economies of scale through bigger procurement, bigger orders that can help manufacturers reduce costs. IFE, the European Institute for Innovation, they're based in Lower Saxony in Germany, where there's a federal initiative called Energy Storage and Systems to support hydrogen use in transport. The German government recognized the importance of hydrogen for transport and energy storage in 2006 with the launch of a national innovation programme on hydrogen and fuel cells technology. There are also plans in Germany to extend the network of refueling stations to 400 by 2023. And the northeast of England, where Gateshead College is located, has proven itself to be a real demonstrator location for all aspects of electric vehicles, and is now turning attention to hydrogen. The region produces about 50% of the UK's hydrogen and has expertise in hydrogen supply, technology, research, development, testing, manufacture, and also vehicle development. Through HyTrEc, Gateshead College are also developing plans for demonstrating different types of vehicle technologies in hydrogen. And Green Network in Denmark is involved in developing a green tech house. And it's a base for a range of organisations working in sustainable energy, environment and clean technology. Green Network is also demonstrating a lower cost refueling station and is planning training programmes and knowledge sharing around the region. Our two Swedish partners, Hydrogen Sweden and SP Technical Research Institute, bring great R&D, research and development, but also strategic and business-targeted expertise to the project. Within the Next Move project, 3 fuel cell cars and 1 refueling station are being brought to the Malmo area, and there are plans underway to have our hydrogen refueling infrastructure developed along the West Coast's motorway. Southwest of Sweden sees huge potential for what we call green hydrogen, hydrogen produced from renewable sources, and with the country's largest share of wind energy and biogas production in that region. And finally, WaterStuffNet have gathered great experience from the various projects they've already been involved with. They're involved with operating several hydrogen refueling facilities, also early market applications in logistics, maritime and public transport. They're also valuable in clustering local industry into appropriate projects. So some of these activities that I've mentioned that are happening, some of them are directly happening as a result of the HyTrEc project, but many of them are not. We're all the partners are involved in other relevant projects and activities that add value and expertise and different perspectives to bring on how to support the rollout of hydrogen technologies. And HyTrEc offers a platform to bring all this together and share all of this knowledge and expertise, and to work together at a strategic level to help to roll out these technologies further. Specifically, the partnership is developing a skills development program, a joint strategy for implementing the hydrogen technologies, and also looking into wider sustainability factors. So I'll touch on each of those a little bit more. One of the first activities that the HyTrEc partnership did was to share information with each other on the relevant public policy in their region, what was already happening there, who the main players were, the level of expertise there, and what the key barriers or obstacles to the rollout of hydrogen technologies are. From this, we learned that all of the challenges could be grouped into these 4 themes, and we think that these are applicable in any region. There's policy and regulation, making sure we have the right policies in place to help to support the technologies be rolled out. Things like the policies around the low-carbon transport agenda and energy policy. Communication and education. We've seen from previous rollouts of alternative technologies in transport that public acceptance is really crucial, as well as making sure that there are the skills in place to allow it all to happen in practice as well. Finance and economics. Although public funding is usually needed initially for priming new technologies, we do have an eye on the commercialization and what needs to happen to support this. And obviously the infrastructure and applications too, and I've touched on some of these already in the partners' regions. The partnership with WaterStuffNet leading this strand are developing these themes further and identifying what steps need to be put in place to help this all to happen. Another package of work is the skills development program, recognising that to introduce lots of vehicles with an unconventional powertrain, we're going to need mechanics, fleet managers, car dealers and early adopters who have an understanding, right from a very basic understanding of the principle and concept behind this new technology, right through to having the skills necessary to be able to maintain vehicles. So in order to try and get input from industry and relevant stakeholders in helping to do this, Gateshead College, who lead this work package, set up an education forum on LinkedIn, and anyone and everyone is invited to join that group and help to discuss these issues with us. Right now, a series of training modules are being developed that are pitched at those different levels I mentioned, from the very basic right through to quite a technical level. The third core package of work that we're doing in HyTrEc is evaluating and building in sustainability. When discussing the vehicle and infrastructure demonstration activities that I've mentioned earlier, we quickly learned of some disparities throughout the region, and things that to do with regulations and things that can make it travel, longer distance travel throughout the North Sea region can make it quite challenging. For example, in the UK, there's a requirement for a vehicle special order, which is required for every hydrogen vehicle, and it needs to have the approval of each emergency services department where the vehicle is likely to operate. So obviously to take that vehicle around, say, the North Sea region or throughout the UK even, it could be challenging. So we're carrying out a hypothetical journey around the North Sea region where each partner is identifying all these sorts of issues. We're discussing them as a partnership, and the key ones will be discussed and included in our project's final recommendations. Another area that's being looked at is how or whether the project can assist SMEs, small medium-sized enterprises, to gain access to finance to help develop supply chain and these applications further. And also developing transferable information on the economic, social and environmental sustainability aspects of hydrogen technologies. So the next steps for the HyTrEc project are to finalise and share the training modules that are being developed just now by Gateshead College, continue implementing the demonstration activities, the hypothetical journey and the other key activities that I've mentioned, and with the aim to launch at or by the All Energy exhibition and conference in Aberdeen in 2015. Meanwhile, we're also setting up an expert group, which is a group of key people that we've identified in the sector that can help people that we all work with to help to input to the work that we're doing in HyTrEc, to make sure that it's almost like a sense check, almost to check that the work that we're doing is going to be useful and successful. So finally, to sum up, the value of projects like HyTrEc in helping to see the uptake of hydrogen technologies, support the competitiveness of Europe, and to help address some of those challenges that I mentioned earlier at around carbon emissions and energy supply. We have an example from Aberdeen's fuel cell bus project of two major competitors, First Bus and Stagecoach, coming together to cooperate on one project in order to move the whole agenda forward. So to me it seems that by working together there's a tremendous opportunity to be at the forefront of an exciting and emerging industry. So thank you for listening, and please come and visit the HyTrEc stand. We're in B36, just down there. And you can find out more about the project there, and you can also meet some of the project's partners on the stand as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sharp, for this interesting and informative presentation. Yes, this was your post. So if there are any questions right here in your mind, just raise your hand. I will come to you with a hand microphone, pick you up.
Would you tell me activities about hydrogen fuel cost down, and what is the current and the target price of hydrogen?
The cost and the target price, did you say?
And the activities about hydrogen fuel cost down.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think one area that we're actively working in is trying to, as I mentioned, the importance of cooperation. We see that one way to do this, to help with this, is to work together with other partners or similar organisations who can help to increase the economies of scale. So the example that I touched on earlier around the 7 cities in Scotland working together is one way that this could be done, where rather than one organisation order a number of vehicles, we can have 7 cities ordering obviously 7 potentially 7 times the vehicles or more, in order to have a much larger order for those manufacturers, try to give them the lead-in time so that they know this will happen. And we're also actually working, some of the partners on the project, we also work with the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, and they're obviously very aware of the issues and around commercialisation as well. So I think the cooperation on these things is the key really at this stage in order to try to get greater numbers and in order to get the overall costs down.